One. What's up, everybody? It's your Captain Blackbeard Slim. Welcome to the pilot episode of the High Score Haven podcast, where we discuss gaming and geek culture. And today, because it is the first episode, it is a pilot episode, I figure what better way to start than to kind of give you the long version of my introduction, tell you how I got into gaming and, kind of how we got here. I shared a little bit of how I became a streamer in particular on my 100 crew member celebration, which is also on YouTube, so feel free to check that out. And also, if you're watching this live on Twitch, welcome to the crew. And if you're watching the playback, you're part of the playback game on YouTube, do me a favor, drop a like, and sub to the channel, really helps out there. And again, if you're on Twitch, consider following the channel. What I normally do is Monday through Thursday, I'm playing games, just kind of playing games live, usually fighting games, retros and indies, stuff like that. And yeah, that's kind of what we do about 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. For the podcast live tapings, if I do them live, because some of them are going to be live tapings like this, and others are going to be like pre-recorded, just depending on the topic and if I have guests, because that's something else I want to do too. So if you're interested in, being a guest on the platform, let me know. We can hook it up. Or some of y'all, I may reach out to you personally. So, keep an eye out for that. I have a couple of topics and a couple of guests I want to discuss those topics with, because they're a little more knowledgeable than I am. Anyway, let's just go ahead and get into this origin story, man. So, who is Blackbeard Slim? So, if I haven't mentioned already, my name is my government name is Sean. So that's kind of how that goes. Born on December 10th, 1984. But as far as me getting into video games, we gotta fast forward a little bit to about 1989, and that's when my parents and some of their friends discovered the Nintendo Entertainment System. And so just so y'all know, my parents are actually pretty young. Like, my mom had me when she was 18 or so. So by the time I was 4, my mom was still like 22. And, my mom was still like 22, 23, and so were all their friends. So they're still doing, young people stuff. So something new comes out, they checking it out. And I remember they were just kind of like thinking around with Super Mario Brothers, and I started to play it and I enjoyed it. And that kind of led me getting into some other games like Tetris. My grandmother, God rest her soul, she taught me how to play Tetris. That was a really big deal on the NES. And they kind of had a hookup on some stuff. So they always had like new games, because they kind of figured out that I liked the Nintendo. So they always had, new video games pouring in and that kind of stuff. So I think I want to say I had at least 50 games for the NES. Like some of them, I had some bangers, had some classics, but some of them not so much. I mean, NES had a huge library. Like I had, of course, the Mario Brothers trilogy. Let me see, Ninja Gaiden. I touched all 3 Ninja Gaidens at some point. What else did I have? I had like the Disney Afternoon stuff, like the DuckTales, the Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers, all that good stuff. Trying to think, a couple of sports games, like your Tecmo Bowls, all that kind of stuff. I had that. So a wide variety of different kind of games, man. So I guess I can go into like the first like real like story with video games. So as mentioned, I actually like video games a lot, almost too much. So I got into them when I was 4 years old. So I'm going into kindergarten. I would say the first game that really had an impact on me was Super Mario Brothers 3, which to this day is my favorite video game of all time. I think it's the best video game of all time. Y'all can debate that in the comments or whatever, but yeah, that's my go personally. So, and I remember the commercials and everything, all the hype surrounding it. And that was like, now that I think about it, Mario 3 might have been like the first game to really have hype behind it. Like, by that time, unless you were just in the know, unless you had like video game magazines, which I'm going to talk about that a little bit later too, because that helped kind of shape me as a gamer too. But unless you were in the know back then, had your Nintendo Powers, your Game Pros, your EG, your Electronic Gaming Monthlies and stuff like that. You really didn't know unless the game was on a commercial. So yeah, I remember Mario 3 came out 89, and I was getting ready for kindergarten, and I absolutely fell in love with that game. I played it like by the time I was actually in school for kindergarten. The first thing I did, I came home and played Super Mario Brothers 3. unfortunately, my elders didn't really take too kindly to that. Like, I just kind of brushed past everybody, just went to play Mario 3. Not like I had homework or anything at that time, but they kind of saw it as being an issue. So here's what they did. They told me that I could only play video games on the weekends. So, or that might have been more of a, yeah. So, it was just kind of the rule. And it pretty much stayed like that until I think I graduated high school, basically. Yeah. So, and it's weird because you gotta remember back, Aburrito indeed. So, I was gonna say, so you gotta remember back then gaming was still very new. It wasn't as big as it is today. Like, people are making millions of dollars just playing games, competing in games and all that kind of stuff. So it was just kind of like this, it was seen kind of like an expensive toy, more or less. That's what gaming was. So, and just like with anything else, they kind of saw it as a potential distraction. Because I kind of showed signs too of like being really good in school. Like I picked up reading at an early age. So, I had the potential to be anything I wanted to be. A lawyer, a doctor, anything I wanted. So, they didn't want anything messing that up, including something that I wound up liking to do. So anyway, got to play on the weekend and all that good stuff, and still enjoyed games. Like, I think what wound up happening, I may touch on this a little bit later too. I guess my parents thought by limiting my time with video games, I will outgrow them. But if anything, it just made me want to play them more. You know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of my weekends, like I really wasn't a kid. Like, I went outside every now and then, just to do something different. But my main hobby to this day is still video games. Like, and it's gone beyond just playing them. Like, I'm doing a freaking podcast on gaming culture. Like, come on. But yeah, I'm trying to think what else I can mention about games pretty much. So, you know what? Let's fast forward a little bit. So this story is going to kind of may jump around a little bit as I come up with new stuff about my my upbringing and childhood as it relates to video games. But let's talk about fighting games for a sec. So again, people that have been following my channel for a while know it started out as a fighting game channel. So how I got into fighting games was kind of two avenues. So one of my uncles had like all the games growing up too, but he was a grown up and he could afford it. He was in a position where he could afford to buy everything new coming out. So shout out to my Uncle Mike. So on Sega, Mortal Kombat came out. So, I'm playing that or whatever. And I really didn't know what a fighting game was. I just knew that, you still fought, the boss or whatever, but somehow you could play against each other. And, I don't even think I had a main then. I know my dad was really into Sub-Zero. He called him Mr. Freeze for some reason. So that's kind of how that went. But where I really got into fighting is like the Street Fighters, the Tekkens, that kind of stuff. I remember it. So it was Thanksgiving 1993. And we were actually going. So my mom met her biological father for the first time. So we met that side of the family. And one of the members of that side of the family was a cousin of mine. Named Calvin. As a matter of fact, if any of y'all in the Atlanta area, you may know him as DJ Krispy Kreme. That's actually my cousin. So he actually put me on to a Street Fighter and stuff like that. Like, took me to the arcade and everything. Like, I was 8. He had to been, 13, 14. So that was actually really cool. And I learned how to do like the motions and everything, like the Hadoukens, the Shoryukens, the Tatsus, all that good stuff, man. It was pretty crazy. And ever since then, like every new fighting game that came out, every new Street Fighter that came out, I had to get my hands on it. And as far as fighting games in particular, that love extended into high school. But the only problem with high school was I really didn't have anybody to play with. Like, I found myself doing a lot of single player modes in fighting games. Like, one in particular I remember was Street Fighter Alpha 3. They had that World Tour mode if you had it on PS1. So I used to just grind that with every character. And my little sister, she was 5 years old at the time. She used to like watch me play it and all that kind of stuff. And it was fun. She always used to ask me to play with like the girl characters, and they had to wear pink because that was her favorite color. I was like, what, I got you. So a lot of Cammy, a lot of Chun-Li, a little bit of Armika, all that good stuff. So like, Capcom versus SNK and all that stuff came out. And it wasn't until I got to college where I really started like getting into games competitively. Well, yeah, competitively, because that was the first time I played a tournament. So, college. That's why let me back up a little bit. Let me rewind a little bit. So in high school, I discovered Third Strike as well, but Street Fighter 3 Third Strike didn't have a home conversion unless you had a Dreamcast, which a lot of people didn't. But like the first time I had Street Fighter 3 Third Strike on a home version, that was in college. But me playing it, remember, Street Fighter 3 Third Strike was with us ever since 1999. Yeah, pretty much. So what happened was, like I said, I did go out every now and then. So I went to the skating rinks, when that was popping. And in between songs or whatever, whenever I got a little tired, I would go play Street Fighter 3 Third Strike. And I was a Ken main back then, just like everybody else. I didn't get into Elena until college. I had some time to, play with the game and play on pads. So something else you should know about your captain too is that, because remember, I got into fighting games on consoles. I really didn't play fighting games in the arcade like that. So that's why even to this day, I still got my pad. I still play pad. Now I will play stick. I will like go to a bar or something like that, or like a major tournament and play on the cabs, and they'll have stick there. But I'm not nearly as good on stick as I am on pad. So that's kind of the origin of that particular thing. Let me see, what else can I get into? Oh, speaking of playing video games competitively, I don't know if any of y'all remember any of this, but way back in like 1994 and 95, Blockbuster Video actually had like the World Video Game Championships. That was something that they ran. And the idea was you had like a single player game and you would compete for the high score. So, kind of like the motto of this channel, always looking to beat your own high score. So anyway, the second one came around, because the first one came around, I didn't even know it was around. So I was like, if they ever do it again, I want to enter. Sure enough, second one came around, and there were 3 games you can compete in. Donkey Kong Country 1, NBA Jam TE, and for some reason, Judge Dredd. I don't know. Maybe Judge. I remember the movie came out around 1995. And the game that coincided with the movie was there, but I didn't think it was that popular of a game. But so I got into Donkey Kong Country, and like I said, that was my first taste of competitive gaming. So the first time I went, I had like a pretty average score, and I'm trying to remember how this worked. I think you got 3. That's what it was. You got 3 attempts to get like your highest score, and then like whatever your high score was like your score that'd be posted, and whoever had, I think, the top score got a trip to San Francisco for like the world championship. So that was like, wow, I want to go to the world championship. And the top 5 or 10, I can't remember which, the top 5 or 10 actually was considered what's called a store champion. And when you were a store champion, you got free game rentals for a year. So, nice little consolation prize, right? So the first time I got an average score. So then the second time, I bust my ass to learn Donkey Kong Country, because I really didn't know how it was structured as far as how they were going to do the levels. Were you just going to run through the game as it was, or were they going to do something different? But yeah, I ran through the game, because what was, you had 5 minutes to get as far as you could. So what happened? I had a stopwatch and I played the game from the beginning, 5 minutes, got as far as I could. And, you had to try to, and basically the way you get your higher score is getting all the bananas, hitting enemies, that kind of stuff, and generally getting out of the stage as fast as you could. So like I said, grinded that. In a way, that kind of stuff like that kind of set the stage for things like speed running today. So that was kind of cool too. I think, there's probably a ROM of that World Championship cartridge. Finding the actual cartridge itself, good luck with that, because I think those are pretty rare, because they were like special editions of those games. But I'm pretty sure if you look hard enough, you could find a ROM of it on the computer and just emulate it. Is that the legalities of that? I don't really know, but sure enough, the second time I got there, I killed it. I don't remember exactly what my score was, but it was good enough to get me in that top 10. And this is where I kind of learned like a life lesson here. So y'all listen up for this one. I'll give y'all a little bit of a free pro tip. So whenever you accomplish a goal, always have another goal. This is how I learned it. So basically, because I kind of got the high score, I just thought, everything was muscle memory. I would come back and kill it again. Turns out my third attempt was my worst attempt. Like I choked. It was choke city, but I still wind up being good enough my high score was still good enough to make me a store champion. So, hey, got 2 free rentals every month for a year. That was a good year. Fifth grade was lit on the weekends, man. So, yeah. So as far as written games, so this is the old man in me talking, because some of y'all may not realize this, but back in my day, when you had to walk to school, 10 miles uphill both ways, and through the snow and through the rain and through the depths of hell and all that good stuff. But yeah, back in the day, one of my ways between my grandparents always having hookups of games, that kind of stopped around that time too. So there were a couple of ways you rented games, man. So you went to Blockbuster, or you borrow games from like neighborhood kids. Y'all traded games. So that was something else I did too, to kind of get access to newest games. Now you got stuff like Xbox Game Pass, which is pretty much arguably the greatest deal in gaming ever, and it's pretty much the new way to rent games. And then you got stuff like GameFly, which I've never used. Don't think I ever would. I don't trust like sending CDs and stuff in the mail and all this good stuff. And it's just, I don't know. Never gotten a GameFly. But yeah, so my childhood, there are a lot of decent stories. I got a couple more too. So first game I ever bought with my own money. So I'm 13 years old. I'm 13 years old, right? And Star Fox 64 comes out, and had Nintendo 64. And one way I was able to get games for myself was I did really good in school. So if I was able to get good grades in school, my parents would buy me a game at the end of the quarter or semester, however the schools did it back at that time. But because Star Fox 64 came out in the summer, I couldn't rely on that. I had to find a way to earn money myself. So my granddad actually cut lawns. He actually had a lawn care business. So my parents suggested that I, talk to him, see if I could work for him for a little bit to earn the money. And sure enough, I did. So cutting grass in the heat and all that kind of stuff, and going through all that, and sure enough, I got the $60 and was able to play that game. Now, looking back, I probably should have still kept working for him, but I again, that was back when I really didn't know, have another goal in mind. Don't just, hit the one goal and then just kind of stop what you're doing. You know what I'm saying? So, but anyway, but even with that, it still felt good to go into Toys R Us with the $60 that I earned, that I actually, like people say now, get it out the mud. Actually, I got it out of the mud and all that kind of stuff, or out of the grass in this case, and was able to, pretty much go in that game, get Toys R Us, and with the Rumble Pack and everything, like the commercials made that game look so lit. And to this day, Star Fox 64 is like arguably my favorite N64 game of all time. Part of which because of that story it took me to get it, and two, because it's a fun game. Like on a future episode of this show, I may count down like my top games from every system, but we'll save that for another time. But anyway, so yeah, back to fighting games for a sec. So in college, I had to take a little detour to kind of set that up. So in college, I played in a Tekken tournament. Well, actually, let me go back even further, because I'm going to set the stage real quick. So I was in college from 2003 to 2009. Anybody who's really into fighting games would know is that that was like the worst period to be a fighting game fan. Like, other than Tekken, new games weren't really coming out at the regular. And like, I think Capcom vs. SNK 2 was like the last decent one. But then you had stuff like Capcom Fighting Evolution come out and all kind of stuff. But I was so by the time I got to my sophomore year, I got into like Halo and stuff like that. I was more into shooters. I was in first person shooters for a good little minute, between Halo, the EA Sports, the EA games, James Bond games like Nightfire, and I think the other one was called Agent Under Fire too. they really like fire for some odd reason. But anyway, yeah, that's kind of what I was on. But then Tekken came out too. Oh, but actually, something else I want to mention too is that gaming was a big source of how I met a lot of my friends. I will say about 80% of the friends I have today, I met through gaming in some way. Matter of fact, Kenlo TCG, who stops by my channel a lot, I stops by his. I met him in college playing Halo. And it turns out he was a lot like me, and where we kind of like the same kind of games, and we also like fighting games as well. So, like Guilty Gear was out, he kind of introduced me to the competitive Guilty Gear anyway. So we would be up like all night playing Guilty Gear a lot of times, man. And that was I think I've told this story once on stream before, but there was a time that Kilo TCG, Matt, trying to remember the best way to tell it. So we were up playing one night. I think he was doing training. I think because the way we had it set up in our dorm was there was one TV and then another TV. We had one system on one TV. We had another system on another TV. We didn't mess around. Like we was real gamers. So I think I was playing some RPG or something, and he was grinding out, training his character in Guilty Gear. And I look over, and this dude is like asleep with the controller in his hand, literally just like. And somehow or another, his character's still moving. This man is literally training in his sleep. I'm just like, what? Like, this is something else. But that was a funny little story, man. But what was that noise? I don't know. But yeah, that's kind of that. And let me see. Oh, a Tekken tournament. I entered a Tekken tournament in college. Back when there was no Cat Arena and I really didn't understand the Williams sisters. I actually played that Tekken tournament with Kazuya and Julia. And actually, I won a couple of matches too. I can't remember my exact placing, but it may have been like 8 to 10 of us entering. I think I got like 5th place. So, Tekken 5 back in 2005. So, yeah, exactly. There's dedication there. But, yeah, man, it's... Good times, man. College, like I said, played a lot of great games, and met some cool people. And speaking of fighting games again, how I kind of got back into them, because by the time I graduated college, I liked fighting games, but I moved back home. So again, really didn't have anyone to play with. I mean, you had online, but there was really no offline people I could reach out to until. It was about 2011. And I just got frustrated one day because Marvel was out, Street Fighter 4 was out, so a lot of good games were out. Tekken 6 was out. And I was like, okay, where there have to be fighting game fans here in Charlotte. There have to be people that like fighting games as much as I do. So I went online, and I think I literally typed out fighting game communities in Charlotte. And sure enough, I don't know if any of y'all remember the Shoryuken forums, the SRK forums, but sure enough, the first link that popped up was, the Rock'em Sock'em community, Reese, for people that's in Charlotte. Shout out to Reese. That was like the original Charlotte FGC at that time. I think there were a couple before that, but that's the FGC that I kind of went into. So apparently there was a session at this dude Tactics house. So. I told him who I introduced myself. I sent him like a DM, introduced myself, told him who I was. And, he said, hey, come on through. We're playing games. Let's get it. So I went in there and I was like like there were TVs everywhere. Like everyone playing like their game of choice. There was some Mortal Kombat on one screen. There was Street Fighter 4 on one screen. There was Marvel on one screen. And I'm thinking I'm in heaven, right? And I also think, I play fighting games pretty well. Let me pick up the 6 and see what I can do. I got mollywhopped, y'all. I got my ass whooped by a lot of different people. But like I said, that's where I found out. That's where I found competitive fighting game. And I'm like, yo, I'm home. So I went to some other people's house for sessions. I think Ninja Gakido, he had a session at his house. And that was kind of like the main place I went because he hosted sessions at his house every Friday. Him and his roommates, because they were all fighting game fans too. They had known each other for a long time. And so met a lot of cool people that way as well. And that's how I kind of got ingratiated into the Charlotte FGC, which eventually kind of spun off into UNCC's fighting game community. And now the fighting game community in Charlotte, I mean, for the most part, I don't know, like it looks completely different for the most part now, just because, you know, people grew up, people did grow up, which that's kind of going to segue into another topic later. But people got old, people got families now, so they really can't come out to stuff. And, you know, there are a couple people still sticking around, but maybe they just kind of like the environment, don't really want to compete no more. And I guess maybe I fit in that boat too. I mean, I do like to compete just because, I mean, I just like playing the best players ever. Will I ever win like an Evo or anything? Probably not. I don't know. But it's good to try, you know? It's good to have that fun experience. And hot damn, we've been talking for 30 minutes now. All right, good stuff. I thought I was gonna like breeze through this in like 7 minutes, but apparently your captain has the gift of gab. I can go for a while there, but I mean, that's pretty much the gaming origin story. I mean, for the most part, for right now, that's kind of how we got here. Like I said, as far as becoming a streamer, I talked about that in another stream, but just real quick. So as far as being a streamer, I've seen people do it, and it's something I always wanted to do, but I didn't think I could. But I think I told you about the breakup I had a long distance relationship with a girl who lives in Florida. Shout out to her. Anyway, so we break up, and because I was a trucker, I was making some decent money still at the time. So because I didn't have to spend money flying out and seeing her and all that good stuff, I was like, and plus I wanted to start saving money because I had like a plan to buy a house and all this BS that, you know, didn't work out the way I planned, but actually worked out better because I still have my own place. Anyway. So with the money I saved by not seeing her and the plan I had to do something big, I was like, I want one big thing, whether it was going to be a trip or just something for myself I wanted to buy so I can kind of get that out of my system before I start on that journey. So I was like, well, Sean, you've always wanted a gaming laptop, because I was still over the road at that time. So I wanted a gaming laptop, and I got one. Spent like $800. Matter of fact, it's the very laptop I'm streaming from right now. So it's still been with me for 2 years, going strong. And yeah, and then one day I just got the idea I was like, let me try streaming. I looked around, see what I needed. It turns out I had exactly what I needed. And one day I was playing Cuphead, and I just pressed the live button, see what happened. And had a nice little audience. So I figured, okay, I can do this. You know, a little something on Saturdays when I come home from being over the road. I can just turn on live, you know, play some games and have some fun with people. And then from there, my schedule had changed to be home every day. So that's when the stream started to move to, you know, Monday through Thursday, Monday through Friday at the same time, and help build the community that we have now, help build the High Score Pirates as we are today. So, all right. So I think that's the gaming origin. Next topic up for bid, next item up for bid is, should grown men be gaming? So originally this episode was going to be just about like my origin story and telling stories about my upbringing and how I got into gaming and streaming and all that. But recently I've been hearing some discourse on the internet, you know, some scuttlebutt, if you will. It's a funny word, scuttlebutt. But anyway, hearing, you know, some men talk about, you know, grown men, you know, men over 30 shouldn't be playing video games. And, you know, the reason men are, you know, falling behind in life is because they're playing video games all day. And I get what those guys are trying to say. And ultimately, they're trying to say that too much of anything is a bad thing. You know, too much, you know, alcohol is a bad thing. Too much pizza is a bad thing. Too much, you know, insert cool, fun thing here. It's too much of it is bad. But I kind of like, but pretty much they had a special kind of like seething hatred for gamers in particular. Like they think all we do is sit around in our mom's basements, eat Cheetos, and, you know, and yell at kids. Yeah, too much oxygen in the water is a bad thing, facts. But yeah, just sit in our, you know, mom's basement with Cheetos and all that kind of stuff, and, you know, drink Mountain Dew, and like we're just losers. But I'm gonna tell you something about your captain in particular. One, I have my own damn place. That's number one. Get that out of the gate. Like no roommates, no parents, nothing like that. No situations. Mine that I pay rent for every month, and I do it with the with the job that pays me fairly well. Like, yeah, even though I play video games for fun and stuff like that, to be honest, the only time I personally really play is when I'm streaming. That's kind of where my gaming comes in. And yo, based with the W comment, they was big mad when they found out their controller wasn't plugged in. To this day, it makes them bitter. I think that's, to be honest, Base, I think that's part of what it was. Is that, the very guys that are kind of shaming gamers and kind of virtue signaling, so to speak. Because there's two theories I have behind that. One, these are guys that sucked at video games growing up, and now they're kind of projecting that onto people that either are good at video games or just enjoy them in general. Or number two, like I said, these are guys that are trying to. I know a Switch, so I have to be careful with this, but I'm just gonna say it. Because it's eventually going to just go on YouTube. They're trying to score some pussy points. Yeah, because a lot of attractive women, they're like, I don't want a guy that plays video games, all that kind of stuff. So, they want to be guys that, well, I don't play video games. Do you like me? So, yeah, the kitty points, exactly. So, that's a part of what it is too, and even like girls that say they don't like video games and all that kind of stuff. Well, I don't want to deal with you no way. So that's part of what it is. I mean, and I'm telling you, yeah, we gonna talk about this today because I'm sick of it. Like I may go on a couple of rants about this because I also noticed too the very people that like to bash gamers and talk crap about gamers are the very people that are into reality TV. They like watching sports and, listen to music and all that stuff and watching movies, which in of itself is nothing wrong with. I don't have a problem with those things. But let's be honest, y'all. All you're really doing is watching other people win at life. Because even with games, you're in control of the action. You know what I'm saying? And some people may say, well, instead of playing 2K, why don't you just go play basketball? Shut up. Maybe I don't want to play basketball. You know what I'm saying? Maybe I want to, have an escape and, have an imagination. Because that's something else you got to have when you play video games too. You got to have a little bit of imagination. Because how else are my Charlotte Hornets going to make the NBA Finals year after year after year? It's not happening in real life. But you know what? I get to live that through NBA 2K. So that's that on that. But yeah, like and even like some of my elders, I've had to shut them down with this too. It's like, whenever people, talk to me or whatever, they're like, yo, you still playing them video games? I'm like, you still watching the Redskins or whoever, the Commanders now. But, at the time, this is a conversation I literally had with my uncle. It was like, oh, so you still watch football, don't you? So, and he was like, yeah, I guess you're right. Yeah, I guess I am right. You know what I'm saying? Because my thing is, everyone has their thing that they're into, and they shouldn't be shamed for being into that thing. Now, unless that thing is illegal, or like if it is in excess, and that's something that I was talking about earlier that my parents did try to prevent. They didn't want me to be so consumed with games that it got in the way of other things. And so thank God I did have like limits growing up. But now I'm grown and I can set those limits for myself. Because like the main thing for me is now, for the most part, unless it's just a boring day and I really don't have anything else better to do, like during the week, I only play games when I'm streaming. That's kind of like the rule I set up for myself. Just to kind of keep me grounded so I can get some sleep, I can still get work done, and I can still live a productive life. Because like I said, being able to work is hard for the things I have and the things I'm going to get. Like one big thing with me is I probably could take the easy way out and live with roommates and all that kind of stuff and save a lot of money, but I like having access to certain things. I like being able to go to MagFest, which can be a little bit expensive. I like being able to, like I said, live by myself. I like being able to, just be able to live without worrying about money too much. So in order to do that, you gotta be able to prioritize things in life. So that's all that is, man. But yeah, to the people that want to hate on gamers and all that kind of stuff, God bless you. I hope. So here's a couple things I'll say about that. And honestly, this is, you know what? I'll say it. Cool. We're gonna go there. If you were born before Pong or after the Nintendo Wii came out, shut the fuck up. Your opinion, like, you're either too old or too young to really like be trying to figure out anything. Like, the old folks, y'all had y'all time, y'all got us in this situation to some extent. Like move out of the way. We got this now. We gotta clean up y'all mess. And then to the young folks, y'all are 1,000 years too early to even be trying to tell us older folks anyway. So it's like, just go on somewhere. Like, go dance on TikTok or something. I don't know. Look at me. Now I'm shaming. Now I'm shaming what people like to do. L for the captain. L for the captain. I know. But yeah, man. So yeah, that's the first episode of the High Score Haven podcast. So when the next episode is going to be, probably in the next couple weeks or so. But I was stressed out that the gen I'm in, we're going to run the country. Yo, No Canel's in the house. What's up, brother? Welcome on back. Yeah. Yo, Bates, you still playing video games at your age? You still selling your food stamps for 50 cents on the dollar? I'm a taxpayer. And that's the one thing I love about my wife. She joins it on gaming with me. She's learning to smash them. That's what I'm talking about here, Rocks, man. Like, be around people that like you and your interests. You know what I'm saying? In the words of Lil Nas, can't tell me nothing. Yep. Exactly. I don't know, man. So that was a little bit of a rant. I'll probably post some of it on Instagram, and I'll probably have other people in my comments. But you know what? That last comment on Instagram where I had over the post where I was talking about digital pre-orders of BS, people still liking that post. That post has like 1,400 likes, bro, and probably like 20,000 views, all because I put a dissenting opinion on there. You know what I'm saying? So, hey, sometimes you got to go against the grain, and good things will happen to you. But let's look at a couple of these chats, and we'll pretty much get up out of here. And so I can start editing and posting a lot of stuff to YouTube. So, okay. Facts. It's a nerve burner for me. How in the F are chicks complain about gaming when it brings him joy, and he's been gaming longer than he's known you? I'm going to tell you what it is, Bates. It's an attention stealer, because a lot of times those kind of women, at least, they thrive off attention. So anything that takes away attention from them is the enemy, whether it's another girl, whether it's, dude playing sports, work a lot of times. Shout out to Giselle Bundchen. And, or video games. Like, they see that as the enemy. So I don't even think it's so much for them, the games themselves. It's just they see it as something monopolizing their time, and spoil rotten individuals. You get it. Let's see what else we got here. I know we had a couple more chats. Okay, so Kim Rock says, but for one, if it makes you money, helps your responsibility, sure, gaming away. But no, if it's taken away, that's all I'm saying, man. Like I said, I get what a lot of, like, especially if you're successful. Like, if you got more money than me, then cool, have your opinion. I may disagree with you, but even then, you kind of had a head start on me anyway. But like, if you broke and trying to talk shit about gamers, again, shut the fuck up, please, because that don't make no sense. Like, you doing worse than me, but I'm the loser because I choose to play video games in my free time. Like, this one cat on Instagram was trying to go back and forth with me about it. Like, this dude had like 30 followers, which I know that's, in real life that might not be a metric, but here's how I knew this dude was a loser. This dude was in the nosebleed section. He was at a Miami Heat game. I guess that's his favorite team. So already your argument's invalid because you watching other people win at life, and you in the nosebleed section. Told him, go Heat. Like, man, get the fuck out of here, stupid ass. Got me cursing on stream. I said I wasn't gonna do that as much anymore. But yeah, that kind of stuff infuriates me, man. Yeah, stinks of insecurity, man. Just like I said, like you should. And then he had the nerve to try to tell me I was cherry picking. I was like, dude, you cherry picking. easily. But anyway, let me grab some water right quick, man. Y'all can probably see the sweat right now. But yeah, gotta hydrate after that, exactly. But anyway, man, thank y'all so much for coming by. Like, I didn't know what to expect as far as viewership. If anything, like I said, I just wanted to get the podcast out there. I wanted to get it going. You know, it's going to improve over time, just like anything else I've done on Twitch or really in my life. So, and also, if you haven't already, check out the Discord and leave some suggestions for any topics that y'all want to see covered on here. Like I said, I want to focus on like gaming and geek culture. But if it's a topic that's relevant, like I said, just shoot it out there, and maybe we'll discuss it. I got a list of potential topics I want to cover. Like I said, I definitely want to do like a top 5 of different games. I want to do game reviews for stuff as it come out. I might do a Bayonetta 3. Sorry, I might do a formal Bayonetta 3 review, but I would have to have that as an additional topic on top of everything else. But I'm gonna tell y'all something, man. Time flies when you're just having fun, pretty much. Like I thought that I was barely gonna get to 30 minutes, and here we are, almost at the hour mark. So yeah, like I said, thank y'all for y'all support.